coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. The annual Foundation of Hope Gala is set for November 3rd and is the major fundraiser of the year for the Swift Current United Way. This year's major sponsors include Pattison Agriculture and Standard Motors. As you look around the city of Swift Current, you can see the legacy of the annual Go Green Friday. And as the event marks a milestone in 2018, the project is one of pride and hopes of continuation for the future. These young students from Swift Current and the surrounding area are learning more about where their food comes from. Thanks for joining us here today. An annual fundraiser is on the horizon for the Swift Current United Way, and sponsors are again playing a major role. The annual Foundation of Hope Gala is set for November 3rd and is the major fundraiser of the year for the Swift Current United Way. The evening comes together each year through generous corporate sponsorship and attendees of the event. This year's major sponsors include Pattison Agriculture and Standard Motors, who are eager to come on board once again for this worthy cause.
We were initially, at the time, the first year, we were this presenting sponsor, so it was a single sponsorship. And then over time, this will be 2 years that we've partnered with Standard Motors to share that title sponsorship. For us, it's, again, there isn't a lot of opportunities to get involved in the communities, in some of the vulnerable sectors or the sectors that need some help. The one thing that United Way I really appreciate of is that when each one of these organizations goes to try to raise funds, they're competing with each other. But with the United Way, it's a single point of contact so that they can generate funds on behalf of these other organizations, as opposed to them competing with each other. So it's nice to be able to, knowing that your dollar goes towards, it doesn't have to go towards a single organization. It gets split up across all of the organizations that do some fantastic work in our community.
Our vision and mission as a business is to be pretty integrated with the community. So United Way share a lot of similarities in how they operate and give back to the community to different sponsor organizations, and it really aligned with sort of our purpose and our missions and how we wanted to give back to the community, as well as establish it's in our DNA and our culture for a lot of years. Philanthropy with our great grandpa and grandfather and father and so on. So it's just sort of a continuing the tradition, and it was just a really great way to fit, and our goals seem to match.
And proceeds from the evening will once again benefit numerous community groups who've applied for funding through the Swift Current United Way.
A lot of them are, they apply with us every year, and requests of between $5,000 and $10,000, and that's a significant amount when you're trying to get a program going. And for a lot of them, that often covers either a third of the program costs or 100% of the program costs, depending on what it is.
Tickets are limited for the Foundation of Hope Gala and are available through the Swift Current United Way office. Volunteers in Swift Current came together again for the annual Go Green Friday, marking 10 years of the annual event. As you look around the city of Swift Current, you can see the legacy of the annual Go Green Friday. Over the past 10 years, the team at Stark and Marsh and other volunteers from the community have planted trees, designed flower beds, and cleaned up the creek bed along the Chinook Parkway. And as the event marks a milestone in 2018, the project is one of pride and hopes of continuation for the future.
You drive around town, you see all these trees and these flower beds and the circles on Hillcrest, and you've left a mark in your community, and I guess that's all anybody can ever do is say that you've done something and given back, and I feel very proud of it, absolutely. This year I think we have 12 different sites that we're working on, and we have a filtration system that's going to be put in by Riguri Honda that's going to filter stormwater into the creek, so that's part through the watershed stewards. We have Central Avenue flower beds being done. That's part of the downtown initiative to beautify the downtown core. You know, lots of legacy projects are going to be here.
And thanks to the efforts of numerous volunteers, over 2,200 trees have been planted to date around the city of Swift Current. The annual Go Green Friday is the collaboration of Stark and Marsh, the City of Swift Current, and Innovation Credit Union.
I'm Jody Craven Barber. I am a ceramic artist. I consider myself a process-based experimental ceramic artist. I live in Buena Vista, Saskatchewan, and I am represented by the Slate Art Gallery. There's something really tactile and sensuous about working with the clay material and that connection, that relationship that you have with your own body and the sensitivities through your body and your hands, working with that material. And then taking it a step further and working with this tool, the pottery wheel, there's a movement, and there's something really freeing and spontaneous in just sitting down and throwing, making a form, and it's almost a very meditative process. You get captured into this time frame, and you're in charge of shaping it, taking it into the direction that it needs to go, but you're working with this tool that's spinning, and so there's a relationship then between your body and the material and this tool, this machine. I started off with just not centering my body and starting to throw very loosely, and as the wheel was spinning, I would spin. I would also be listening to music, and I'd be thinking about the audience and who's engaging in the pottery, in the pot form. You know, if you don't want to make functional objects, you know, so where does this performance come in? So I was listening to music, and I had all these ideas going on, and all of a sudden I started to make pots that started to twist. They were kind of taking on a new shape, and I felt like I was onto something new in terms of a technique. The clay was responding to my movement, I was responding to a certain kind of rhythm, and I started to just jump onto this whole idea of dancing. And my practice has just evolved from there to deconstructing the pot form and really trying to get it to move in all sorts of directions. So the piece that's here is taking a cylinder that I've thrown on the wheel and working with the grooves on the sides and stretching them out so that they capture a kind of movement that I feel when I'm throwing. But I'm taking it further and trying to get this vessel form now to move off the table, to almost feel like it's going to fall over or to expand and demand its presence in space. So thinking about the object and how it presents itself and then how the viewer experiences it is important to me.
Local students learned more about agriculture during a special event in Swift Current. These young students from Swift Current and the surrounding area are learning more about where their food comes from. One-on-one sessions with agricultural specialists, which were part of the annual Food Farm Day at the Swift Current Research and Development Center.
Invite a bunch of grade 3s out in the spring, and they help us plant a garden and plant some crops, and they learn about some animals, and we teach them about where food comes from and the important role that technology plays in agriculture and food in Saskatchewan. This is the follow-up harvest. So they come out in the spring in grade 3, and then they come back in grade 4 at harvest time and clean up the garden and learn about some of the crops they've grown, and we have some treats for them and tie everything all together.
And the one-day event is also a great outreach program to the community, giving local residents a better understanding of what work is undertaken at the research center.
Kids have a lot of influence, I find, on their families, and what we do here, they they find it pretty exciting. And I've heard, some stories that, yes, we had to plant our canola plant in our flower bed so she can watch it grow and mature. So, and then there was honey, and some of the honey got taken home so they could show their parents about the honey and how they learned how bees worked. So the kids are bringing it home to their parents, and sometimes kids create that enthusiasm about agriculture. So that's our main goal, right? To understand where their food is coming from, to understand the technology behind it, but also just that enthusiasm about, hey, I learned how to grow something. I learned how things are grown. Do you know bees produce honey? And, it's more than just going to the grocery store and getting, what off aisle 7.
The Swift Current Food Farm is an annual event presented by the Swift Current Research and Development Center and coincides with similar activities across the province in partnership with Saskatchewan Agriculture. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.